So, so, so what? So, how's the progress going on in the Dutchess County Libertarian Party going for you?
The progress is going fairly good, actually. We participated recently in, I say we, several, the vice chair of the Dutchess County Libertarian Party, Anthony DeLulo, myself, and another um, guy who has been attending our meetings. He is an independent voter from Hopewell Junction, but he leans very libertarian. So one day he may take the plunge. Anyways, we participated in this fair recently, and there I met up with this older gentleman with his family, and this guy had been involved in the Libertarian Party in the very beginning, like in 1972. And so he knew all the old players, and he had worked with uh, publishing the newsletter and such, and he worked on the publication entity which Reason magazine absorbed and such. So he actually lives in Putnam County, but close to us, and he showed up at our next meeting with his family. So, sometimes just an infusion of new blood, even when the new blood is old, can be a big boost to morale. Because this guy, he wants to be involved with us now, and we certainly will be putting him in touch with the affiliate in Putnam County. But it is going well because we are getting some new engagement. Several people from the Mises Caucus are contacting us. So we may have this influx of people. And of course, as you would imagine, there is a lot of interest now in the Mises Caucus based on recent events in New Hampshire. So
Yeah, because the Mises Caucus, I think it is, I think stands for decentralization of government, and I think that, or at least from my understanding. But there's a lot of people there that are like in that caucus that are like radical libertarians and whatnot, and this different type. Like by that I mean like anarcho-capitalist slash anarchist. Get rid of the everything under the sun that has to do with government and taxation and stuff and all this, that, and the other thing. Now, I would argue there's a place for that in the party, I'm sure. But I think with the Mises Caucus, I think their main focus is decentralization. But I think they get a bad rap because they have some characters and they've been like Joshua Smith, I think his name is. And I got into it with him on Twitter and whatnot, but, side issue. Um, and there's been controversy with him for like years, and I think he's part of the LNC, if I'm not mistaken.
oh yes, Joshua Smith, yes, and yes, correct. Yes, now I know to whom you were referring. Yes. I do not know him personally all that well, although we did a podcast together a while back, hosted by Pastor Peter Yeepel. But the Mises Caucus, as far as I understand it, they represent the Austrian School of Economics. So this is the very uh, free market school of economic thought, and they just do not play the identity politics, and that is certainly attractive because um, there's this whole sort of drive towards wokeness and identity politics is really just atomizing the party, and So it is refreshing to have a counter current. And your question was about engagement. I mean, people are coming to us who were not active before based on interest in the Mises Caucus. So we will take it. I mean, maybe
Right.
there'll be another wave of people from the Radical Caucus, and guess what? We'll welcome them as well with open arms. I mean, we want to make this everybody's party as long as we can get along and work together productively.
Right. All right. Hold on a minute. I'm gonna
Sure.
fix the layout. All right. But my thing with Joshua Smith is, there's certain characters he don't like, right? Like Nicholas Sarwark, and I'm friends with him, as you know, Nicholas Sarwark. He hasn't been involved with the National Party since not getting involved in running for re-election as chair of the National Party. And he's been the chair the longest, I would argue, right? And my sort of thing with Joshua Smith is he's had some controversy, and then when you bring that up, like when you ask him about it, right, and you bring those controversies up, then he kind of disses you in a sort of negative way. Like it's like, oh, he'll put you down, and he's kind of got that rough edge. And I personally don't get along with him, and that's very rare for me not to get along with any libertarian. And I got into it with him on Twitter and I had to block him because he and his supporters were going after me for defending Nicholas Sarwark because of Joshua Smith's approach to some comment that Nicholas Sarwark had made about that everyone was on his side was interpreting, that being Joshua Smith, as throwing him out the window sort of thing. I don't know what advanced wording that Nicholas Sarwark had used for that or if he had meant it, but I don't think he meant it in a figurative sense, right? But if you try to defend Nick, right, with against Joshua Smith, or you bring up like whatever affairs he had, abusive affairs he had in the past with Chase.
With whom?
Some girl he was with that's in the party. I forget her exactly how to pronounce her name, but so
in the Libertarian Party of New York.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's correct. So it's not that Joshua Smith is not a libertarian. I would argue that he's more anarchist / Mises more than anything else, but his approach is not necessarily the best approach for the party in terms of gaining recruits. I personally don't get along with him because when you bring that sort of stuff up to conversate with him, then he wants to put you down and use his supporter base to almost demonize
When you say bring up, are you talking about his personal familial
like
matters?
more or less like when he's talking with other support like libertarians, and some of whom which he may not agree with, like Nicholas Sarwark, right? And when he criticizes some of those people, when you try to defend them, he and his supporters will then try to demonize you.
Right.
So,
Well, yes. I mean, you bring up a good point. I mean, this is why I was saying just a moment ago that yes, presently we are welcoming those who are coming to us who happen to be Mises. If maybe next month we get people from the Radical Caucus or Audacious Caucus, then we will welcome them too. because this is everyone's Libertarian Party as long as, and there's a big condition, a big proviso here, as long as we can work together productively. And that is a big proviso because lately what I sense in the party, and it is troubling, is that there are people who think that we get a better party by antagonizing um, critics out of the party, that we can antagonize our way to a better party. And Larry Sharp teaches us that this is not the case.
Right.
We have only one creed here. As long as you are unwilling to use force to achieve social and political gains, then you are one of us. So this is our creed, and we have to be very careful not to stray from that,
Right.
and to try to work cooperatively with one another. And by the way, I know we just sort of fell into the trap of talking about some personalities in the party, but it's always best to talk about ideas rather than personages, right?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. Um, and I try not to like attack Joshua Smith that often, even though I don't agree with his approach on handling things his with his support base. I mean, with other people in the party and whatnot, and and that's why I've had to block him because like I fall into that trap sometimes with him and others. But I'm sure, and I try to steer away because if you can name one person that doesn't follow, if you can name one person that follows the NAP to the word 100%, I can sell them the Brooklyn Bridge for half price. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, but what we should strive to do is follow the NAP and try to strive ourselves to be better libertarians and whatnot. Even though we're not going to be perfect at it. And I was just merely using Joshua Smith as an example to what we were previously talking about, in that there are some people in the Mises caucus that use the opposite approach of the NAP by antagonizing it. And the best thing to do, like you had alluded to, and you make a wonderful point about it, is not to, feed negative energy those in the party that want to use the antagonist or purist approach to problem solving in anything having to do with the Libertarian Party in and itself.
Sure, sure. Well, yes, we'll get better at this. We are still a relatively new party, so we will get better with this over time.
And I would also state that we've made with party politics in the LP aside, we've made a tremendous amount of success at the local, state, county level throughout the country. And and we have made so much success that now even the conservatives are being forced to reckon with. We're forced to be reckoned with for not in the way that we would like for the conservative point of view, but for example, because the conservatives, they're always going to do their own thing, but if we can get some of them on board, great. Same thing with the liberals. But there are people that are saying, look, you're going to split the vote. And I think in one example of that was the Erie County Sheriff's race here in New York. And a conservative had posted, I think in one of the groups that my mother was in, that, if I can remember correctly, that the Libertarian Party would be detrimental to the Second Amendment because the Republican guy is, and whatever the argument this particular individual was making. And there are times where I would respond. I think I responded to them, and the person ignored me, and I went off on it. But that's what I got to work on, is not doing things, right?
Right,
And I
right.
think we can all learn from these sort of mistakes, if you will, and be like, all right, maybe we should utilize the Larry Sharp approach. Because I think Larry Sharp was mentioning too, that the way you get people into the party is not by attacking their politics, but educate them on why they're wrong and encourage them to join. And if they don't, that's on them.
Right. I mean, mind you that you take the average 18-year-old, right? Somebody who's just old enough to vote and registers in a party for the first time. This person has what? Had 12 years of governmental indoctrination. And since kindergarten, all you get in, if you go through the governmental indoctrination camps, otherwise known as public schooling, is that government is the source of all our prosperity and all our protection is all due to government. So if you are coming through all of that, you cannot expect that someone will just sign a voter registration form and then suddenly be a perfect libertarian overnight. There is a learning curve. And in that time, we have to be patient with newer people, and they will grow into it. And of course, that we can always uh, be there and be supportive and such, but we cannot apply purity tests right away and just try to antagonize people out of the party. That is not productive.
I agree. I agree. And I would say that we got to be patient with it and hope that, people come aboard with the Libertarian Party. I mean, the fact that we're making progress at the local, state, and county level throughout the country, and that we've won so many state legislative seats, I think is an example of that progress and work.
Sure, sure. And there's more to come. You ain't seen nothing yet, Michael, because we have a lot more. Our best years are still ahead of us.
Right. Yeah. I can't wait for the best years. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
that's going to mean, um, that the shackles are going to come off. Slowly but surely. They're already coming, right? And as far as the public schooling, I'm actually one of those guys that have been in the arena of public schools. And I actually started out in a private school throughout my life in New York. And then, ironically, I moved to Texas with my father. And then in my teen years, when I was visiting my mother, and she's been living here in New York for the longest time, still is. And so for the longest time, she's the one that got me started in politics. But I've kind of, over the years, grown more libertarian. And I think, surprisingly, the logo got me started. And then I started reading into it and whatnot. Um, and then Ron Paul enhanced that. And then the Gary Johnson league. And, so, I mean, I started out in the libertarian arena calling myself a libertarian conservative before I came out of the closet that, you know what? Come to think about it, I am libertarian. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
I think you make a very good point with it. That's the journey that a lot of people coming out of the public schools are going to probably come to most, at that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Sure.
But like you said, it's going to take time.
It will take time, and mind you that the Libertarian Party of New York will regain ballot access imminently. Whether it happens uh, through litigation, we will see, or may just happen electorally in the next gubernatorial. Um, and you will see we will hit the ground running when that happens because we have already developed certain protocols and practices, and just in New York, of course, and speaking, but we have our our party infrastructure much more developed than it was back in 2018. So we will be much more effective when our access to the ballot is restored, as it will be.
Right. And I know that day will come too because we got a big governor race and coming up, and hopefully we'll have a good string of candidates to go with. Maybe Larry Sharp will run, maybe he won't. But my hope is that regardless, we'll get someone that'll give us that ballot access. Or
Yes.
hopefully we'll win the litigation as well and go from there, as you were alluding to.
Sure, because I would love to see Governor Cuomo get cake on his face when the court tells him that this our ejection from the ballot was unconstitutional. I mean, that would just be that would just be a bonus right there.
Yeah, I mean, Cuomo will be like, "How dare you oppose the king? Oh, that's so bad, and the world's gonna come to an end." Ooh.
Yes.
Right? An asteroid's gonna come down to the Earth and wipe us all out. The whole doomsday scenario. Because we libertarians just I'd love to see that happen. Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, of course, he was already told once that his Public Finance Commission was unconstitutional. So we already have that in our favor. And if we hear that the second time he kicked us off the ballot was unconstitutional as well, that would be a double whammy. So
right, yeah. Well, I think the courts at the time said that it was unconstitutional due to the fact that it wasn't voted on by the legislator, and then he snuck it into the budget, and they voted
exactly.
for it anyways.
Yes.
So, but if the argument is that it's still unconstitutional because it violates voter choice, that's not only going to be a slap on the face for Cuomo, but also the Democratic legislators that were elected in the blue wave.
Right, and mind you, this is so short-sighted on their part because when you meet the gubernatorial threshold, you're supposed to get 4 years by definition, right? Because the race is every 4 years. So for the Democrats and Cuomo's cronies to kick us off in not even 2 years, that applies to them as well, which
Right.
is to say that they may have a gubernatorial threshold. They could come up short soon, and that may happen to certainly the Republicans. The Republicans right now do run the risk of becoming New York's third party.
Right.
Because New York is getting bluer, not redder.
Right.
And in that case, the Republican legislators, and mind you, we did have several of them come out and decry our treatment and our ejection from the ballot.
Well, I
others
think it's
who were
kind
just
of.
like, I'm sorry.
I think it's kind of ironic because if the Republicans were in the major party zone still, right, they wouldn't even care about us libertarians. on the ballot objection matter. And all.
Right, and
But
that's what I was
because
saying is
they're
that
also at risk, that's why they all of a sudden care.
if you want to be cynical about it, then you could say that. Yes, I mean, I know that in our neck of the woods, our state senator Sue Serino, she did not receive the libertarian line. She was interested in it, but uh, she did not get it just because back in 2020, when the people were quarantined, there were just not enough signatures which could be gathered for her and such. But the point being just that I think she genuinely cared about this, just because it really makes no sense. I mean, why would any gubernatorial candidate throw all that money away just for 2 years, right? I mean, it takes millions of dollars to run for governor of New York if you were to do it successfully. And to think that you would only get 2 years of ballot access based on this precedent, if you can call it that, it makes no sense. It has to be 4 years by definition, and we were denied those 4 years. So this is definitely a grievance which has to be corrected.
Right. All right, and we're just about out of time, but is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
Anything else? Well, we can mention that the Ulster County Libertarian Party actually has a stall at this year's Ulster County Fair. And that is being held from August 3rd to August 8th. And actually, the Fulton County Libertarian Party's chair, Brandon Lyon, has volunteered to make the trip and volunteer on a day or two. I myself will be volunteering. So if you have any viewers in or around Ulster County, they want to check out the fair in New Paltz, then swing by and say hello. We'll be at the Ulster County Libertarian Party stall.
All right. And I greatly appreciate you coming on there, Daniel.
Sure.
And so you guys heard it. So if you live in Ulster County, Libertarian, if you live in Ulster County, New York, please come over to the Ulster County Fair, meet Daniel and some of the members of the Dutchess County Libertarian Party. Your support would be truly amazing.
Definitely. And thank you so much, Michael. And let me know how it comes out with the recording and such.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Good night then.
Good night.